All right, we are recording for, that's the wrong folder. I think this is 17? Yes, 17. Sweetheart Roland, which is a story I'm not familiar with, and even reading it, I didn't recognize it for the story that is. There are some elements to it, though, that did sound a lot like, what was that earlier one? Oh, wait, no, that's it. The Foundling Bird. Um, so the story goes like this. You got a witch, because obviously you're gonna have a witch. Well, I mean, kind of already knew that because of the stealing of the wand. The witch has one daughter that is her own and is ugly and wicked, so she loves her very much, and a stepdaughter who is beautiful and good, so she hates her. Yeah, this so far checks out. Um, and the ugly daughter is envious of the good daughter, who has this beautiful apron, and the ugly daughter wants it. So the wicked witch decides, all right, I'll get it for you. Make sure that you are sleeping on the far side of the bed, because they were sharing a bed. And that, your stepsister is on the inside, on the near side, at the front of it. I'll come in and chop off her head then, during the night. Because that's a solution. And by the way, one thing that I do want to point out, just because it is something that a lot of people today might not realize, especially in America, because we're all kind of used to having our own beds. But no, even like 150 years ago, I don't know if it would be the case 100 years ago, maybe. But the idea of sharing beds, especially with siblings and even just friends, because it's a way to keep warm at night, was actually kind of common. So not only is it nice that we all have our own beds typically, but also we have heating and such and plenty of blankets. So the idea of needing another person there to help keep warm, it seems alien, but no, it's very much what the practice would have been for a very long time. And this story is probably centuries old. Well, actually, no, it might not be. I think Brothers Grimm, I think, only goes back to like the 18th or 19th century, so it's not as old. Does they actually say anyone here? I'm actually now curious about that. Can see it there. No, maybe not. All right. Anyway, so yeah, just now the stepdaughter heard this, overheard them saying this, so it's like, okay, once the ugly sister is asleep, she pushes her over into to the front of the bed and hides at the far end. So when the witch comes in and goes to chop off a head, it's her own daughter's. But she doesn't check this, and so that won't discover the mistake until the morning. The beautiful daughter, who, by the way, is never named, then flees the house, goes to her sweetheart, whose name is Roland, sweetheart Roland, and is like, we have to flee the country, we have to flee. He's like, okay. But you should really go in and take her wand. It makes sense. Try to take that from the witch so she can't use at least some of the magic. So she goes back, takes it, but also takes the daughter's head and puts 3 drops of blood on the ground. One by the bed, one in the kitchen, one on the steps. Don't know what happens to the head after this. But when the witch wakes up, she calls out for her daughter because, like, where are you? Like, why are you not around or anything? And the 3 blood drops answer, and eventually, she does get into the bedroom and sees that she killed her own daughter. Because, blood drops can answer when you call for them. Anyhow, she then gets to the window, and it does mention that she has great sight, which I'm pretty sure is just one of the folk powers, if you will, of witches, that they have very good eyesight, that they can see very, very far. And that is actually one thing that is kind of interesting about other folk tale type creatures, like vampires as well, would have certain powers that are conveyed in that way. That they're common in the folklore. And just one thing that is interesting about that is how you don't necessarily see those then survive into various adaptations. So, for example, one thing that I'm I think is actually in Dracula. Is in Bram Stoker's Dracula. I don't remember. It's been a while since I read it. But it's still they have the ability to transform. Everybody knows that. But typically, it's associated just with transforming into a bat. But they can also transform into wolves and werewolves. Now, I'm pretty sure that isn't Stoker because when I did read, I'm pretty sure that there was mention of there being wolves and him like commanding them, him being outside of his castle and watching as what's his name comes up in a carriage, but as a wolf and is controlling them. And also, one thing I want to add is I want to say that some of the context of that was the werewolf isn't like a man turned into a wolf or a wolf that would be up behind. No, but a very, very large wolf. Anyway, get back to this story. So the witch sees them, puts on her many league boots, which allows her in one step to travel an hour's worth. Which I kind of like that just because it sounds exactly like something that would be in folklore. That would be that kind of magical item. And it makes me wonder if that's in many video games. I don't think so. Even though it makes sense. It's like you'd think that would exist in things like D&D. Not that I have much familiarity with D&D. I've never played it, but you'd think that you would have it there and then that it would also survive into video games. But it would be interesting. It's just like a fast travel mechanism. Anyhow. Now we get to the point where it's a lot like the Foundling Bird. Because the daughter sees the witch coming and uses the wand to turn Roland into a lake, herself into a duck on the lake, and the witch tries to entice the duck to the side to take and kill, but she never comes over, so then she leaves. And when she comes back, this time the daughter has, the stepdaughter, you know her, uses the wand to instead turn herself into a flower in a bush, in a thorn bush, and Roland into a fiddler. Now, one thing that is interesting about this, so when the witch then comes in order to pluck, to take the flower, because she knows who the flower is, it even says that way, she knows who the flower is, it's like, because flowers are people. And the fiddler's like, oh yes, go right ahead, and just starts playing. And you're thinking, oh no, but no, he's playing a magic tune that forces the witch to dance. Okay. Yeah, the quicker he played, the more violent springs was she forced to make, and the thorns tore her clothes from her body and pricked her and wounded her till she bled, and as he did not stop, she had to dance till she lay dead on the ground. Now, there's a couple things interesting about that. One is the idea of dancing till you die, which is actually, I want to say that comes up in other places as well. Like if you were to go out and observe a witch's Sabbath kind of thing, that there is music there, and if you do get entranced by it, you would dance till you die. But I do also find it interesting how it describes that the thorns also tear the clothes off from her. It just seems odd because that might actually be of significance as far as a shaming of her and exposing of her. I'm just not sure, but it is a curious detail to have in there that I suspect that it does have some meaning like that. And also going back to that folklore with the dancing, which I don't quite remember completely, but I think that is also with witches' Sabbaths that they are doing that nude. So it might also then be a message of that as well, as though Roland, in this fiddler form, is essentially forcing a death onto her that she potentially had forced onto others, or her and her ilk have forced onto others. So there might be some element of that here. I'm not certain, but it is that is familiar enough for me to believe that that's the case. Anyway, the story's not done here. And I'm kind of confused by how the story does end up go at this point. Like, why? So it's like, okay, she's dead. We're good. So Roland's like, all right, I'm going to go back into town, see my dad, start arranging our wedding. Oh, good. I'll wait here. And to be safe, I will turn myself into this red road marker. Why? Whatever. And actually, hang on, I do want to read this because it's how it is put is a little odd to me as well. So, but when Roland got home, he fell into the snares of another who prevailed on him so far that he forgot the maiden. Okay. Now I'll explain why it gets weird later, but I did want to read that. She then decides two things. One, that she will remain faithful to him, and the other is that she wants to die. So she turns herself into a flower so that she will be trampled over, but instead a shepherd finds her, plucks the flower, and brings it home, putting it in a chest. Just, it's a thing of beauty. He wanted to preserve it. And she apparently is not that desperate to die, and basically is rewarding him because now when he is either asleep or not home, because he has to go out and work with the flocks, she does all the chores of the house, all the housekeeping. So he wakes up and everything is clean. He gets home from work and food is already cooked, and it's like, okay, hey, wise woman, what's going on here? She's like, oh yeah, and so this wise woman is like, oh yeah, this is definitely enchantment. So here's what you do. When you notice something moving that shouldn't be, take a white cloth, throw it over, it'll break the enchantment, you'll be good. And so he does that, and because she then comes out of the chest, does that, and then she explains everything, and he's like, okay, will you marry me? She's like, no, I can't, because, she's remaining faithful to Roland. But she does say, I will continue to keep the house for you, though. I was not great, but, could be worse. Now, Roland, this idiot, he's getting married to this other woman who had ensnared him before. And apparently it's tradition in this country that all the girls around are to be present and are to sing in honor of the bridal pair. Well, she doesn't want to go. But the other girl's there because apparently now she's allowed to be known of outside the house. Technically, she was a flower. And is doing this, and it's like living in the house and not willing to marry the guy. It's like, you'd think she might be keeping some secrets. But anyhow, the other girls force her to go. And then she keeps trying to avoid singing, but finally, no, it's her turn. Everyone else is gone, so she has to sing. And Roland's like, I know that voice. I know that voice. That is the true bride. I will have no other. Everything he had forgotten and which had vanished from his mind had suddenly come home again to his heart. Then the faithful maiden held her wedding with her sweetheart Roland, and grief came to an end and joy began. Why didn't she keep the shepherd? I'm just, what is this whole got ensnared and forgot about her? I mean, props to her on the whole deciding to be that faithful to him. But it's still, I was kind of half expecting she'd be there. The guy would Roland be forced to, like, even though it's like, oh yeah, I remember you now, but I'm still going to marry her. Because it kind of, it's our wedding day kind of thing. And then she like, all right, and then decides to marry the shepherd and lives happily with that. I was really kind of expecting something like that because Roland deserted her. I don't understand this story. I really don't. Like, where did that come from? I don't get it. I really just don't get it. The chair is really creaking. And also, how was he that ensnared? Like, was this other woman also somehow a magic user to like, oh, you forget all of the women but me. It feels like this is half a story that's been attached to the other that technically should have ended when the witch was dead. And it's only half the story. It's like, what is the other half of the story? Because it is, what about Roland's commitment to this other woman? Mainly that, yeah, that's what I'd really like explained. And also, why is, I mean, there's faithful. And then there's this, what this girl is showing to Roland. Because, I mean, there's faithful, where it's like, yeah, I'll wait for you. But this is like, he legitimately was about to marry another woman. All right, and I can understand her just being sad and not wanting to take part in all that. But there'd be that part of me that would half expect this to actually work out as the moment he is married, she would then turn to the shepherd and be like, okay, we can get married. Because, like, he is lost to me. there's no purpose in keeping faith with him. But instead, it's he remembers, and then it's like, oh, goody, we'll just get married and live happily. That just doesn't quite seem what you'd expect. Because also, as I said, what about his commitment to the other woman? What's happening? I mean, yeah, I don't know. I am legitimately confused. It also seems odd to name it Sweetheart Roland. Although to be fair, that name may have come late. That could have even been the Brothers Grimm being like, what do we call it? I don't know. I mean, there's no one with a name in it except for Roland, the sweetheart. I guess that's the name we go with. I mean, when you think about it, that is actually a reasonable point. Is I don't know for some of these folklore stories how many of them had formal names until they were cataloged, essentially. Because, I mean, if a child is asking for it, like, oh, tell me about Hansel and Gretel, it might not be tell me about Hansel and Gretel. It might be tell me about the witch with the gingerbread house. With Cinderella, it might be tell me about the beautiful girl with the shoe kind of thing. It might be, described that way and with other names. But then it's like, well, also there would be variations of the stories themselves because the nature of folklore. So the Grimms had to put down a singular version, potentially combining multiple, but then also give them names. And maybe, where's that name going to come from? And now I'm actually a little curious about how many of these are actually names. The Frog King, yes, that's technically a name. King Thrushbeard, Tom Thumb, the Robber Bridegroom. That I'm going to say is not actually a name. The Robber Bridegroom. He's not called that. It is a description. It's more just, it's more just a title, which is kind of silly way to put it, but yes. Cinderella is name. Rumpelstiltskin, Rapunzel. The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean. That, say again, is a title. It's just describing these three, even though that is also their names. That's kind of in between then. Mouseman and the Sausage, same thing. The Pack of Vagamuffins. Yeah, that's more so a title. Cat and Mouse in Partnership. That's absolutely a title, because it's just a description of what is here. Same, like the Robber Bridegroom, it's a description of what's there. The Fox and the Horse, same. The Wolf and the Seven Kids, yeah. Little Red Riding Hood, name again. Foundling Bear, name again. The Willow Wren and the Bear, title, Sweetheart Roland, name. Mother Hall, or Holly, not sure about that, name. That's the next one. I don't really want to go further, but I mean, it's... And then we do have, like I said, Hansel and Gretel. That would be a name. That would be names. Sleeping Beauty, name. I mean, is... Actually, wait, no, that might not be a name. I don't remember if she's actually given that as a name or that is just a description of her. I don't remember. And there's also Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That would be more so title, I think. But yeah, so it might just be that Sweetheart Roland because literally the only person with a name in the entire thing. And what else are you going to call it? The Witch in the Apron or something? Because the apron is barely present. That's like just the first paragraph almost. Yeah, I don't know. It just... There might be other points of significance. Like, the whole thing with the thorns, that I could see being... Other people read that, and this is assuming that what I was saying was correct. And it might not be. But other people reading that might not know that background and just be like, oh, yeah, whatever, and then move on. Because I'm seeing some significance there. Maybe there's something else of significance in the second half of it that I am not picking up on, but would explain it. Because I don't know. It does seem odd. Because, I mean, the shepherd is, in theory, like a good guy. He's not failing you. He's... I'm assuming treating you nicely, and it's like, I understand the whole, I don't want to marry you, being faithful to the asshole that left me. But it is like, because there's a chance he could come back. Yeah, it's weird. It is weird. All right. So yeah, that's this one. And also, is there more to the story? I got no idea. I really don't. I'm... Because, I mean, yeah, the Wicked Witch is bad. So is the sister, but it's like they're just bad people. And they both die. That's not exactly much of a moral. It's like a lot of stories give you that one. Anyway. I think I'm done with this. And yeah, so we'll see. I'll see you with a Mother Hall or Holly. I'm just because it's Holle. I'm just not sure if that would be Holly or just Mother Hall because I don't know. I don't know names from this location very well, which would be probably Central Europe, Central and Eastern Europe, and I don't know them from like 2, 3, and more centuries ago. Sorry, but is that it? I'm bad with names anyway. Anyhow, see you next time.